Hello muggles and welcome back to my Harry Potter kitchen, the YouTube series where I am baking my way through the Harry Potter books, making a recipe for all the great food and drinks featured inside. If you missed last week's recipe where we made Ron's sandwiches for the Hogwarts Express, then check out the links down below in the description to catch up. But it is a Magic Monday, so let's see what new recipe we have today. If, like me, you are obsessed with all things Harry Potter and you want to see more from my Harry Potter kitchen, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you get an alert every Monday when there is a brand new video. But without further ado, let's see what's waiting for us today. Okay, so we don't have far to go for our next recipe. I can actually see it in the next sentence down. Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had money for sweets with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have Mars bars. She might not have any, but we're gonna make some. For this recipe, you'll need to make caramel with 150 grams of sugar, 50 milliliters of water, 50 grams or 2 tablespoons of liquid glucose, a pinch of salt and 150 milliliters of cream. For the nougat, you will need 3 egg whites, 225 grams of sugar, 2 tablespoons of liquid glucose, 125 milliliters of water, half a teaspoon of vanilla, a pinch of salt and 100 grams of milk chocolate. And finally, to cover our Mars bars, you'll also need an extra 200 grams of milk chocolate. If you've never heard of Mars bars before, then where have you been? Hiding at Hogwarts? They are a British sweet made by the Mars Food Company and consist of 3 layers: soft and chewy nougat, a soft and sweet caramel, and then it's covered in a crisp outer shell of milk chocolate. Now, if you cannot find them in your local stores, then I'm going to show you how you can make your own at home. To start off, we're going to make our caramel first by pouring our sugar into a bowl and pouring over our water. You'll then need to add in your liquid glucose and your pinch of salt. Swirl this around to help the sugar start to dissolve. Bring the sugar mix up to a boil, and when it starts to bubble rapidly, add in your cream. The reason why we're making the caramel first is that when we wrap our tin in cling film, it's less likely to stick to the caramel when it freezes than the very, very sticky nougat. So you can do it this way, and then we'll flip it over just before we serve. Give this a quick stir and then add in your sugar thermometer, and we want to bring this up to 120 degrees Celsius. Make sure you keep an eye on it because it will bubble up very rapidly and you don't want it to spill over. Just before your caramel is ready, it's time to prepare your tin by double wrapping it in cling film and then pushing it down into the sides to make sure it sticks to all of the corners. As soon as your caramel hits 120 degrees, work as quickly as you can to take it off the heat and then pour it straight into your tin. Use an offset spatula to spread this into the corners and then pop it into the fridge to chill for an hour. Okay, so while our caramel is setting in the fridge, we're going to move on to making the nougat. And if you've never made it before, it is very similar to making marshmallows, except we're going to add in some melted chocolate into it to give it a true Mars bar flavour. The first step to making nougat is our sugar syrup. So to do this, we're going to add our sugar into a saucepan along with our glucose syrup and then our water. Swirl this around until the sugar has just dissolved and then add a sugar thermometer in. We're going to bring this up to a rapid boil and keep an eye on it until it hits 150 degrees Celsius. While the sugar is bubbling away, we're going to move on to our eggs, and we're going to separate 3 eggs so we can just use the egg whites in this recipe. Pour the egg whites into your mixer and then whisk them on high until it forms soft peaks. To flavour the nougat, we're going to use melted chocolate, so all you need to do is add some water into a saucepan, place a bowl on top, and then break your chocolate inside. Gently heat this, giving it a stir until it is melted and smooth. As soon as your sugar syrup hits temperature, you want to remove it from the heat and slowly pour it into your mixer while it's on in a very thin stream. Keep on whisking until all your syrup has been added. Once you've poured all the syrup in, you want to carry on whisking on high speed for 2 to 3 minutes. If you touch the side of your mixer, you will notice that it is very hot from the hot syrup, and you keep on touching it until it starts to cool down to room temperature. That's when you'll know it's done. Once the egg whites are lovely and thick, they are good to go and it's time to flavour them. We're going to add in our vanilla, a pinch of salt and our melted chocolate. Fold this through, being careful not to knock out too much air, as otherwise you'll have a flat nougat. Remove the caramel from the fridge and then carefully pour your nougat on top. Using an offset spatula again, level this down until it is nice and smooth. You'll then need to pop that back into the fridge for another hour to set. Now another quick tip for you to make sure you get some nice clean edges on your Mars bars. About half an hour to an hour before you're ready to slice them up, pop them into the freezer. That's going to make sure our caramel and our nougat layers are nice and firm, and then all we need to do is heat a knife and then slice it straight through. Working as quickly as possible to make sure it stays nice and cool, remove your Mars bars from the tin and then remove any excess cling film. You'll then want to heat up your knife with a blowtorch or hot water and slice your Mars bars into thin rectangles. These are about 2 to 3 centimeters wide and about 7 centimeters long. Once they are all sliced, you can pop them back into the freezer while we prepare our chocolate. Now the secret to getting a nice thin crisp shell of chocolate is to temper it. And if you haven't heard about tempering chocolate, I've got a video coming up in a couple of weeks for a chocolate recipe where I'm going to show you all the stages and you might be able to guess what chocolate recipe that is. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the really simple way to semi-temper your chocolate. It only takes a few minutes and you still get a good tempered effect. Place a bowl over simmering water and then break half of your chocolate in. Allow this to melt down and then stir it through until it's nice and smooth. While your chocolate is melting, you can get your second batch of chocolate and then chop it into chunks. Once your first batch is all nice and melted, remove it from the heat and then slowly add in your chocolate chunks. All that's left to do is stir that through and you'll notice that the mixture starts to thin down slightly and goes nice and shiny. Our first job with the melted chocolate is to dip the bottoms of our Mars bars. So that is the nougat side. We're going to dip them in, allow them to drip so any excess chocolate runs off, and then place them onto a silicone mat, which is also going to give you that textured effect that Mars bars have on the bottom. Once they're all dipped, pop them back into the fridge to set up for half an hour. Once the bottoms are ready, place them onto a wire rack and then pour the rest of your melted chocolate over the top. You need to make sure this is still a running consistency so that it will pour down the sides of each bar. If your chocolate has thickened up too much, then just place it back over some simmering water until it thins down again. To get the signature swirls that are on top of Mars bars, I've got a skewer and I'm going to swirl the melted chocolate as it starts to dry. And just for an extra bit of Harry Potter magic, I'm also using some white chocolate to pipe on some lightning bolts. Once you're happy with them, pop them back into the fridge for about an hour until they are completely set. And we're done! Our British classic Mars bars with a Harry Potter twist are good to go. They might not have any on the Hogwarts Express, but you can always take some with you. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed these Harry Potter inspired Mars bars. We are very close to all of those fantastic magic recipes. So if you don't want to miss a thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you get an alert every Magic Monday when there is a brand new recipe. That is all for this week's video, but I will see you